So when I look at that solution statement, the first thing I'm looking at is whatever Ryan just said is in his solution. Did he say that specifically was the problem? And I do see some connection points, so that's good. So Turnkeys Home Maintenance Subscription does it all for you by providing scheduled, predictive maintenance in addition to housekeeping, repairs, and renovations. I don't remember if you said housekeeping, you might have. I don't remember if you said repairs, and I don't remember if you said renovations, but this is what I'm talking about. You presented a concept to me 5-10 minutes ago, and I can't remember it. And I do this for a living, right? I can't remember it because it was quite a bit of information, and I see a lot of decks. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Had you presented the information in the problem statement with fewer words and maybe bolded just those words, it would have been easy for me to connect and remember those two. That's where fewer words, more focus is absolutely critical here. What I want to see in the problem statement is your most painful focal points. In your solution statement, I want to see your most painful solution points, ideally the same things, bolded. Now, the bolding is up to you. I'm just saying I want to see those two things connected. But now in the bottom right, and let's go back to that for just a second. In the bottom right, we're adding some new stuff. We're talking about peace of mind, freedom, increased home value, trust. But we didn't connect that to anything. This gets dangerous. These are a bunch of concepts that absolutely make sense to you. We also have a stock photo that makes sense to you, but our audience doesn't necessarily make the same connection that you do, Ryan. And again, these aren't tough concepts to understand, don't get me wrong. But the tricky thing is when we add new stuff, we're rolling the dice on how that makes sense to our audience. Ed, what do you think about that?
Let me throw in a comment. I'm going to add to what you said, and then I want to backtrack a bit. Furthermore, if you add new stuff that applies to the customer and you're talking to the customer, you can now have peace of mind if you use our software. The investor, it doesn't necessarily connect. Now, it might, and you score, but you're taking a risk. And a lot of decks I find try to sell, and they use buzzy marketing words to sell the customer, and it doesn't speak to the investor. What speaks to the investor are those numbers, those pain points. On top of which, just to be very just straightforward, I want to be explicit and illustrate what Will was sharing. If your problem statement says 1 million people spend $3 billion a year because something is slow, manual, and expensive, you better say, we're solving the problem for those 1 million people. They're going to spend less because our solution is fast, automated, and cheaper, right? It is literally working backwards. If you can connect those two, that's when you're going to have a winner.
I want to go back to the problem statement because this is starting to gel for me a little bit. And as a founder, I can't help but.
If you would have told me now, being a homeowner, and I am horrible at home maintenance, like this, I am like right there, sign me up, okay? So let's talk from customer discovery, my standpoint. The reason that I don't do home maintenance properly is because I forget and because I don't know who to contact. Just really straightforward. So if you talk about the fact that this is the pain point, and this costs me a lot of money because I forget, then I got to do repairs and all these things, and I could have avoided all those costs. If you would have told me, hey, listen, we're going to put you on a subscription, tell you we need to get this, and we're going to send somebody out, like right away, like your home maintenance is up in a month from now, just like I get a notification for my oil change. These oil change guys are amazing now. They send me, you're due for this, you're due for that. Just want to let you know, you've probably driven this amount of time. I'm like, oh yeah. And then they say, oh, by the way, here's a coupon. You get free windshield wipers. And I'm like, I am so there. It's the same principle, but I'm agreeing with you, Will. It's not communicated. I'm thinking, man, this is great. Sign me up. But it's not communicated in this deck.
I am the home maintenance guy for like everyone I know. Same way like some people are like the network or like the Best Buy. What's the nerd service that they call it?
Geek Squad. Geek
right?
Squad, yeah.
Whatever. And so everyone calls me. So I get it, right?
Yeah.
None of my friends understand any of this stuff. So they call me, right? And that's the thing. I get this service so well. And I think there's an opportunity to be like, hey, most of the people we're going to be talking to are homeowners, right? So they're going to understand this. I wonder if there's the average homeowner is going to spend, I'm going to make up a number, $3,800 this year on a bunch of services to maintain their home, and they have no idea how to actually do it. We allow them to make one phone call and never think about home maintenance again. You know, just something that shows like, here's their frustration throughout the year and the massive bill they're going to spend. And here's them concierging the whole thing and never thinking about it again.
Yeah, and a lot of, just letting you know, like Will and I were talking about this willy-nilly, pun intended, I guess. We're just saying stuff because we get to sit around and do this. We fully recognize and acknowledge that you as founders, you're sitting there, you're in the suck. Like you're in so deep and you can't see the forest, you know, through the trees, right? But I can assure you that if you can find the way to communicate it, you know, we've got one founder who's in cybersecurity, and he found a way to explain his unique value proposition. And he said, in cybersecurity, most people either build a wall, like a big moat or a wall, or they put all this surveillance camera around there and they watch your stuff. We do things differently. We turn your diamonds into coal. So even if people steal them, can't do anything with it. It's the most genius thing. He basically explains it in 30 seconds and everybody gets it, right? And I can tell you the big players that are now courting him to say, can we invest? Can we buy your stuff? That message resonates. But if you ask him, it took him months and so many schwacks at it to get it. And that's the whole message here, is that we're going to work at it. Like, we'll work at it together.